Hello, magnificent beings. Welcome to today's Successful Spiritual Entrepreneur live stream. Today, we're going to focus on discovering your zone of genius to create a business that you love. I am Eva Gregory. I'm founder of the Successful Spiritual Entrepreneur Group here and the Enlightened Business Success Academy, where we help established coaches and spiritual entrepreneurs attract high-end clients with premium offers. And today, we're going to evaluate our businesses and discover if we're working to our maximum potential. So this is going to be kind of a practical brass tacks sort of call today. And if you're not sure you're working to your potential, then this is going to be a good session for you. If you want to up-level your business, but you're not sure how, this is for you. And it's absolutely for any coach or spiritual entrepreneur who wants to reformat your business so you are spending more time doing what you love instead of doing those tasks that you hate, right? I know that a lot of us did. That's how we get started, right? But loving what you do is what's going to keep your business running. And it's going to keep you excited about what's to come for many, many more years. I mean, who doesn't want a low stress, highly profitable business, right? Seems to me that's the goal of every business owner, right? Stress in some fashion comes with the territory, but the right procedures, the right processes in place, that stress then becomes a lot lower than what maybe you're dealing with right now. So many coaches I know are stressed and exhausted from doing everything on their own. And I know when we first start out, that's where we tend to be. And this is about helping you really discern those things that you should be doing and the things that you want to, if not do yet, aspire to sending to someone else to do. Because that's what coaches are, right? We are entrepreneurs. We have the joy of working from a home office. And that joy can be short-lived when you realize just how many administrative tasks there are to keep your business running. And that doesn't even count any of the all of the other stuff that we're doing that's above and beyond that, and doing the things we love and coaching our clients, right? And so what we want to do is we want to streamline our business and make sure that we're creating a business that is supporting us and our lifestyle and not the other way around, okay? And so if you're looking like, well, I'm going to do administrative tasks and now I've got to market my business and now I've got to coach my clients. Well, we want to create programs and offers to bring in clients, right? And of course, then it's like, where do I find the time? It's so interesting because I just had a one-on-one with one of my clients yesterday about this very thing. And she is massively productive, okay? And she was going, I just need to understand how to do more during my day. And I'm going, oh my God, okay. All right, but this is not a pity party, all right? I am here to tell you there is a way to discover more time in your day. There is a way to fall in love with your work all over again. You do need to be a bit introspective here. So we want to be a bit, bring in some going within. It'll be about you. I'm going to give you these processes today. So if you don't have a pen and paper, your keyboard ready, I would highly recommend you do that because I'm going to get you started at least on writing a few lists. These are things that you can get started on right away today. And just to be clear, whether you're newer in business or you're established, you can benefit from this information. Doing these exploration exercises is a form of personal development. Isn't our business like the biggest personal development seminar ever? Oh my gosh. And this is what we're going to do here. We're going to explore whether or not you are doing the work you love, right? Are you jumping out of bed, eager to start your work day? Or are you hitting that snooze button and finding a lot of reasons to procrastinate? So finding work that excites you, this is what's going to make your business fun and profitable. And I know that if you're in business, you got into it for a reason, something you had a passion about that you wanted to help others with. And so we want to make sure that you are keeping that passion alive. And knowing which task you love makes it easier to recognize when those opportunities appear, which ultimately leads to more profit, okay? So you don't want to be stuck taking just every client that knocks on your door, all right? And you're going to learn how to be pickier and only work with those who are your ideal client, who's in your divine market that you feel a connection to, okay? So how do you determine if this is work you love? How do you know if this is your life's calling? You need to make those determinations, okay, for yourself. And so right now on this live stream, I'm going to guide you through some steps to help you make those decisions. And you'll get one or two aha moments. You might even discover that you're in the exact business you should be in, or you might just actually find that you're not in love with your work. And then maybe you'll need to make some shifts so that you can course correct around that, okay? And neither of these answers are right or wrong, okay? It's just about discovery. That's what we're looking to do. And you need to be honest with yourself so you can get on the right business path if you're not right now, okay? Man, gone are the days of working in a job you hate or with clients you don't like just because you think there's no alternative. We are at choice. You get to create what you want to create. Every circumstance has an alternative. Sometimes you might have to think creatively to see it, okay? So we all agree that if you do the work you love, you're going to be happier, you're going to have a more profitable business. Now, think about all the tasks involved in running your business, both in dealing with your clients and handling the back-end administrative tasks. So you want to make a brainstorming list of every task that you can think of, everything you can possibly, from responding to emails to coaching your clients, however many hours a week you do that, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to sort these into 4 main categories. By the way, these categories are not mine. They come from Gay Hendricks, and I highly recommend you get Gay's book if you don't have it. It's called The Big Leap, and you can find it on Amazon. Highly recommend that book. It's awesome. So the 4 main categories, you have your zone of incompetence, right? That includes the tasks that you don't understand or you're not good at, okay? So, and it can include tasks that you don't like, all right? Technical tasks, bookkeeping tasks, those usually fall into that zone for a lot of people. I know those 2 fall into my category of I don't like it, I don't want to know about it, I don't want to have to do it. Don't make me do it, all right? I know some people cringe at the idea of learning new software, and then others will go for months on end not even knowing where they are in their business because they refuse to look at their accounting or their books. I used to be that person. Oh my gosh, I have you as my bookkeeper. I don't want to know about my numbers. You got to know your numbers, people. You don't have to do all that work. You need to have a bookkeeper to do that, but you do need to be on top of your numbers, all right? I know there are others who complain about how difficult it is to create content or keeping up with their social media accounts. They'll get busy solely with their client work, and then they wonder why they don't have any engagement on their social platforms or why there's no visibility and they're not attracting clients, okay? And so those are the kinds of tasks that for you might fall into this category, all right? That's your zone of incompetence, right? Then we have the zone of competence. That includes tasks you can do, okay? You're competent at it, but you don't necessarily enjoy it, all right? Maybe you understand how to use QuickBooks, but if you don't enjoy bookkeeping tasks, you need to get a bookkeeper. In other words, that would go in your zone of competence list, okay? The bookkeeping, that's what happened with me. Maybe you know how to put sentences together, but if you don't like writing blog posts, that would be in your zone of confidence. You could, but you don't like it. So that would go on this list. Just because you know how to write social media posts or how to go live on Facebook doesn't mean you enjoy doing it, all right? And if you think social media is a necessary evil, as one of my friends called it, that's your zone of confidence speaking. It's like, yeah, I can do it, but boy, do I not like doing it, all right? So you're competent, you just don't like it, all right? As spiritual entrepreneurs, we fall into the trap of thinking we got to know everything and we got to do everything ourselves. But it is possible to get out of this zone of competence, okay? Talk about that in a bit. The next zone is your zone of excellence, all right? Now, this one's tricky because this includes tasks that you usually are very skilled at and you enjoy them, okay? And many people make good money in their zone of excellence. But usually there is this nagging feeling that there's got to be something more, or maybe there's something missing. And I know some coaches and spiritual entrepreneurs will mistake this zone, the zone of excellence, for the next zone, which is your zone of genius, all right? Because they found some level of success in their zone of excellence, all right? Generally speaking, spiritual entrepreneurs and coaches thrive off the personal interaction with their clients and with their followers. So you might place your private coaching and your social media tasks in this zone of excellence. But are your coaching sessions and your social interactions what you live for every day? You get the difference? So you can be really good at it. It's easy for you. And so you're excellent at it. But is it really fulfilling you? Are you dancing on the ceiling? Are you jumping out of bed eager to do that every day? Okay. So jot down that answer on your task list and just make sure, is it my zone of excellence or is it my zone of genius? So your zone of genius is the area where you have extraordinary strength. You've got awesome talent. It's unique to you. You have this innate ability. This zone includes tasks that you can do with ease and you love doing them. If you want to create a low stress, highly profitable business, this is the zone you want to strive to spend most of your time in, okay? And I bet you already have a good start on sorting those tasks in these 4 zones. You probably have a good idea of the tasks that you have on your plate and where they go, okay? So as a recap, your zone of incompetence those are the tasks you're not good at and you don't enjoy. Your zone of confidence or competence is the task that you can do, but you don't like to do them. Your zone of excellence is those tasks that you're good at and you enjoy. And your zone of genius is those tasks you can do with ease and you enjoy. And this is where your greatest strengths are. And this is where your talents lie. This is what feeds your soul. Okay, that's your zone of genius. So I highly recommend that you go through this sorting exercise of these 4 lists after the live stream is over so you can really get clear on what's required to make your business run and which tasks you should or should not be directly involved with. So why is your zone of genius so important? When you are operating in your zone of genius, this is where you access the flow state. You get to that a lot faster, a lot easier. And so you naturally get these things done faster. It's easier and better. And you can be more productive because you're working more efficiently in this positive energy. If you ever hear the phrase in the zone, that's what this is about, okay? It's that feeling of accomplishment and productivity that comes from the zone of genius, all right? This is where you also will feel fulfilled or filled up or energized when you're doing it versus drained by it, okay? So you can do more inspired work without feeling depleted. The drained feeling is also where you will find that you procrastinate. It might be boring for you. You don't want to do it. But when you're in the zone of genius, instead of feeling drained, you actually feel like you have more time in your day. You have more energy because of how you're working, all right? And you're most likely to produce exceptional work when you're in your zone of genius. And exceptional work equals exceptionally happy clients, all right? When you do work that fills your heart and it interests you, you've got better clarity, you've got more focus. All of that leads to the desire to make the work awesome rather than just getting it done or just getting by so that you can move on. When you feel the difference in that energy, one is like, oh man, just jump into the deep end with both feet. And the other one's like, okay, let's just get this done so we can get over it, okay? And for a lot of people, finding your zone of genius can be a process. You can find yours if you're willing to put in the introspective work. And that's what it really requires, is you going within and keep your mind open to making changes in your business. So if you're feeling low, but I have to do it this way, or I should do that, not necessarily, okay? The good news is you don't have to completely recreate your business to find your genius. All it takes is some time, for brainstorming and just noticing how you feel about all of these details. How do you feel about the small details? So this is an inner game, right? It's an inner process of feeling your way through this. The not so good news is that finding your zone of genius means making some shifts to spend more time in your zone than maybe you're spending right now. And just like any other form of personal development, you're going to need time to decide where does your zone of genius lie? How can you embrace it so that you can spend the majority of your time there? Okay. So to find your zone of genius, the first thing you want to do is you want to start out by looking at all your current business activities. You can do this with a very discerning eye. What does your daily routine look like? Do you have a plan of action for each day? Or are you just doing whatever? So write down all the tasks that you're doing each day. And if you can't think of them all, just jot them down over this next week as you're doing them. Just write them down. You'll start to notice what those are. I would take some time and write down what you do know, and then go and fill in what you didn't think about as you move through next week, okay? And then with that same discerning eye, you're going to look at that list, and you're going to ask if you're working most efficiently. Do all these tasks have to happen? Are you really the only person who can complete them, okay? Is there another way? Maybe there's an automated solution so that you can be freed up from doing some of those things that's not in your zone of genius. So be open-minded about the solutions that can come. I know that I've worked with clients and they thought, no, but I have to be the one to do this. And here's the reason why. And we found out that's not necessarily so, okay? So just be open to some of the solutions that can come. I would say ask your colleagues, your business peers, how are they using technology as an example in their business to automate certain things that you would like to not get off of your plate. There might be, oh my gosh, there could be all kinds of things that you're not even aware of or thinking about right now that you could be implementing. The other thing is don't be shy about completely ditching or eliminating certain draining tasks or outsource them. Okay, I have a process I call do it, dump it, or delegate it. That means, is this something I'm going to do that I really want to do? This is in my zone of genius. Or is it something, do I really have to do it? Does it absolutely need to be done at all? Maybe not, dump it. Or if it does, who can I delegate it to? So there you go, do it, dump it, or delegate it. That's one of the three things you want to be thinking about as you're going through this process. And again, I would talk to peers or colleagues, or talk to an expert in a particular area to see if there's a way for you to make things a lot easier for you, things that could be done in less time or maybe not even done at all, okay? And I'm going to say something here for those of you who may be just getting started. Even if you don't have a budget to hire a VA, you can get started with very low amount of, like you can get started with packages of 5 hours or less per month, okay? So you don't have to jump into the deep end of the pond on this one. You can actually start. Once you've done this process, you're going to know what can be outsourced, and you'll have an idea. You'll only need an hour a week for somebody to come in, or a couple of hours of time each week, or maybe 5 hours per month. That's not much. But it's a great way to get started by outsourcing without it really breaking the bank for you. And I'm going to tell you something. The minute you experience that, you're going to get this sense of freedom that I can't believe. When my coach 2 decades ago was like, Eva, you need to get help. You need to get help. And I finally thought, oh, okay. And I jumped and oh my gosh, it's like, whoo, freedom. And when you're not the bottleneck in your business, you have somebody doing that and you're in your zone of genius, you're out there, you're attracting clients, you're making money that you had been spending on these tasks that are not in your zone of genius and are not money making, okay? So free to do that. And you can baby step this. The ultimate goal is to spend the majority of your time working in your zone of genius. And you're gonna discover that you kind of fluctuate back and forth between zone of excellence and your zone of genius, all right? But you want to first work toward removing any tasks in that zone of incompetence. So let's start with the zone of incompetence, then we go to the zone of competence, then the zone of excellence, and then the zone of genius. So start with the incompetence. All right, let's clear those out first. Okay, let's get those off your plate, either by eliminating them or delegating them. And I'll tell you, you will feel less stressed. You will have more energy. It is very freeing when you get that bottleneck, out of your business. So I would say aim high, strive to get those tasks that are in your zone of incompetence and actually in your zone of competence off your plate as soon as you can. And then work your way through the first zone until you're happy with the results. So that would be zone of incompetence. Then you work your way through the zone of competence task. Do the same thing. Do it, dump it, or delegate it. Okay. And then just because you can do something, remember, it doesn't mean you should. I'm really good at cleaning, and I'm really good at cleaning bathrooms, and I'm really good at scrubbing floors, but it's not what I want to be doing. Okay. So you want to treat that zone of competence in the same way as the zone of incompetence. And then look at outsourcing this way. Instead of focusing on how much money it will cost, which is where we tend to go, look at how much good you'll be doing instead and how freeing it's going to be for you. So when you outsource, what you're doing is you'll keep someone working simply because you've recognized your own strengths. So instead of worrying about having to find the budget for your contractors, think about how you automatically actually will be spending more time in areas that's going to fuel your soul and pump up your profits. All right. And you're going to feel a lot better in the process. Your heart will be lighter. Your energy will be more aligned. You will be more inspired. Things will get done that hadn't been getting done before. You will be inspired to the work that you are doing. Okay. And when you feel better, you work better, right? When you work better, you earn more, even more importantly. And then before you know it, you're going to be looking how you can outsource even more. So what I would encourage you to do is just take a minute to close your eyes and just imagine that you finally have all of the time, the energy, and the resources to work on your dreams and your desires, to work on your projects in your business, do the things that you've always wanted to do, create the things you've always wanted to create, and that is driving your business forward. And as you think about what those things are, like the universe is saying, your wish is my command. What do you want to create here? How easy can you stand it? One of my biggest things I love to ask myself, how easy can I stand it? How good can I stand it? And focus there. When you do, how does that make you feel? Well, I hope that this feels good. I hope it starts to get you excited and to inspire you. Because when you're working in your zone of genius, you're going to operate more like a CEO and less like a worker bee. You are the CEO of your business. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it, right? But you're going to be able to focus on the big picture instead of just focusing on this never-ending to-do list, right? We got to get you out of the trenches and bring you up at a higher level, all right? And as a CEO, you see the big picture. You decide on a course of action. You delegate the tasks that you can. It's going to lead to that goal. And the same is true for us as solopreneurs, all right? You dream the big picture. You can create the action steps. And then you look at which can you delegate and then which do you want to take on, all right? And an amazing thing happens when you spend more time in your zone of genius. You grow your business faster, all right? And I learned this myself when my own coach, back when I was just getting started, was saying, you need to get help. You're the bottleneck. How can you be bringing on clients when you're so busy doing all of these things that you don't even like to do, Eva, right? Oh my gosh. And then as soon as I started to do that and recognize some things, I just let go altogether. It was just busy work I didn't need to be doing. Now I wasn't wasting time anymore. And man, that felt so freeing. The word that keeps coming up for me, it was so freeing. And so when you cut out the tasks that take you a lot longer than they take other people, and that's what happens when you're not working in your zone of genius, what could take someone a few minutes is taking you hours, if not days, right? You're going to free up that. Those people can get it done quickly. You have more time to focus on your genius, and therefore you generate more income and you grow your business a lot faster. And you also enjoy your business. Hello, we're in this to enjoy it, right? A lot more. So what's next? The truth is, finding your zone of genius is going to require an amount of honesty and self-awareness that maybe you're afraid to look at. So I'd say it's only for you. You're not having to share this with anyone else. Be brutally honest with yourself. Be really, be in that place of self-awareness, okay? And that means you've got to be able to take a step back and examine a few things. Things like who you are as a person. Who are you as a person? What's the work that you're currently doing? Is this work you truly love to do and not what you think you should love to do? Are you doing it for you or are you doing it for somebody else? Be honest about that. I know a lot of times when I'm working with clients, they're doing what they were told they should do, right? It's not about that. What do you want to do? And as you listen to the rest of this live stream, and I'll be giving these exercises to you, I want you to give these exercises a try. And just remember that we're focused on what you are good at. What you are good at, not what your spouse is good at. If you've got a business partner, not what your business partner is good at. Not even what people are saying you're good at. Even if your clients are saying you're good at this. Only you can say for sure what fills your heart and your soul. Only you know for sure what you like and you don't like. For once, it's like, be selfish. Really be willing to be selfish, okay? And don't listen to anyone else except your heart, your intuition, your inner guidance, all right? So, you ready to get started uncovering your zone of genius? Because this is what we're going to do, all right? So just remember, your zone of genius is your thing, all right? And it includes the tasks that you like to do, the tasks that come the easiest to you, and it gives you the best results in your business. This is not the stuff you're good at, okay, or even excellent at. It's the work you do that doesn't even feel like work. That's the level that genius resides, okay? And even when we get challenged by it, if there's challenges that come up when we're in our zone of genius, what happens? We still leave feeling fulfilled and we are not drained. That is how you know your zone of genius. So I would invite you to take a minute and just write down a few of the tasks that you think fit into your zone of genius. Or if you already know them, what I'd love to know is, where is your zone of genius? And put that in the comments, whether you're here live or whether you're catching this on the replay. You know, I always come back and check your comments and stuff on the replays as well. And there's no right or wrong about this, okay? I'm just curious to know if these change for you by the time you go through this entire live stream. If you go through the processes that I'm going to be sharing with you here. When you're in your zone of genius, you don't get burned out. Right? That's another way of knowing you're in your zone of genius, because you're not spending all day using your energy on things that you're not good at or you don't like to do or that drains you. You're not filling your day with busy work. And then you're thinking you're so productive because you were in your office or you were on the computer all day. And then I can be in that busy place and then feel like I've got nothing done, or just be so drained by the end of the day. That tells me I have not been in my zone of genius, that's for sure. And then I look at that. See, this is where the self-awareness comes in. As you're moving through your days, just be noticing. When are you at your best? When are you most energized? When are you not? The areas where you're not, write it down. These are the things you're going to look at. How can we delegate it or get rid of it? Do it, delegate it, or dump it, right? We want to delegate or dump those. Because when you're in that zone of genius, you feel inspired. Even if you're feeling challenged, you feel inspired. And it's a way and you like to be challenged, not in a way that feels unmanageable or overwhelming, but it's just part of the game, right? Have you ever felt resentful toward a client or maybe even a business partner? And resentment brings stress with it, okay? And that's often caused when you don't understand, let's say, the scope of a project, or you feel like you're not feeling heard, or you just simply don't like the work. Resentment, by the way, is a huge warning sign that you're not in your zone of genius. Okay. And so once you understand your unique zone of genius, you're going to know exactly which tasks to handle yourself, which of those tasks to eliminate or outsource, what makes everything more efficient for everybody. And you'll also gain a better understanding of what projects and clients you should go after, that you should pursue. Not everyone is going to be a good fit to work with, and that's perfectly okay. They can find another coach or a healer or an advisor or a mentor who is a better fit for them. Your goal is not to save the world. And I know a lot of times for spiritual entrepreneurs and coaches, that's what we think we want to do, right? Your goal is not to do that. But it is to find those clients who resonate with you, who resonate with your teachings, who are ready to do the work. Those are the ones who see the value of what you have to offer and they want to work with you. Those are the ones we're here for, okay? So if you want to run a low stress and highly profitable business, then your goal, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to spend as much time as possible in your zone of genius. And yeah, there is such a thing as a low stress business, not stress free. There's going to be stress, but there is such a thing as a low stress business, because while you're discovering your zone of genius, you're making plans for how to handle all those other tasks that you don't like. And let me tell you, when you delegate that, you are delegating away stress. Stress on your part, not on theirs. Might be what they love to do. And so let them be in their zone of genius and you stay in your zone of genius. Delegate it or dump it, right? Don't leave room for, well, maybe I can handle that one thing since I'm having a hard time finding someone to outsource it to. You know, you can do that while you're looking for somebody. But what I've noticed is that it's like, okay, I'm going to just do this one thing. And then the next thing I know, you're likely to do it for more than just this one time. And then that leads you right back to where you were. And now you're stressed in your business again. The other thing about your zone of genius, think about this. It shouldn't be more than 3 to 5 tasks or things that you do that you consider your genius tasks, okay? And so when you eliminate everything else and you're just limiting your number of tasks that's in your zone of genius, top 3 to 5, then you're eliminating stress. You are freeing up your creativity. And with your creativity, you're in the flow. And when you're in the flow, you're attractive to success and clients. And that means a profitable business, okay? So if you're not 100% sure what your zone of genius is, I'm going to give you a few hacks to help you maybe figure that out. Now, one of the things I mentioned at the beginning of this live stream was for you to write down a list of everything that you do in your business and then put them in these 4 categories. Remember, your zone of incompetence, your zone of competence, your zone of excellence, and your zone of genius. Those are your 4 categories. Then once you finish this list, you're going to choose on the list, starting with the zone of incompetence. You always start with that one first, then you move to the competence, then you move to excellence, and then your zone of genius. Okay, so you take the incompetence zone and then look at what can be eliminated or what can be delegated, right? Dump it or delegate it. Your zone of genius is your do. Do, dump it, or delegate it. Do could be between excellence and zone of genius, but these first 2 categories, dump it or delegate it, okay? Write everything out that really brings to light just how much busy work you're doing. Busy, because usually that's what it is. It's busy. It's not even productive. I know a lot of people will use their zone of genius in that flow state, like you're in the flow. That's synonymous with being in your zone of genius. It is like you're in the zone. You're in the flow, okay? You're in the flow. Things are moving. You're getting things done easily. You feel excited. You're inspired while you're doing the work. And the results are a lot better too. I guarantee you, if that's where you are spending your time in that zone, they are a lot better. And then another way to get clear is to figure out when you most easily get into that flow state. What gets you into that state? What gets you into that flow state? Just pay attention to those things. Those are golden nuggets for you. So here is an exercise you can do. Think about the 3 times that you were in the zone or you were in the flow. and then write down what was going on during these 3 experiences. You're going to get a lot of clues in here. What were you working on when you were in the flow? What of your skills or your talents were you using when you were in the flow? If you are a writer, were you writing? If you love numbers, were you number crunching? If you're creative, were you doing art? Were you in the zone because you were coaching your clients? That's where most of my coaches are. That's where they're in the zone, right? Who were you working with when you were in the zone? Who were you working for? So these are the things to start paying attention to. Look for the patterns. Look for any overlaps between those 3 events when you were in the zone. Look for what were the similarities between, what were the common denominators between those 3 events, right? And these answers are going to point you to your zone of genius. Then you want to take a look at those tasks that you think are in your zone of genius and notice, have any of these changed over time? Or have they even changed as a result of looking at the difference in your zone of incompetence, competence, excellence, and zone of genius? Maybe you thought it was your zone of genius, but it was in your excellence. Maybe you thought it was your zone of genius because you can do it really well, even if you don't like it. That's not your zone of genius, right? Your zone of genius is you love it, it's easy, and it fulfills you and you like doing it, okay? That's the zone of genius. So hopefully this will become clearer as we move forward here. But if not, don't worry about that. It's completely natural to need longer than just the time we're going to be here on this live stream for you to discover your true zone of genius. But take what I'm giving you, take these processes and really spend a few minutes, or not a few minutes, you take a couple of hours and go through these processes, okay? If you're struggling to find your zone of genius, you can start with pinpointing your other zones first, okay? That's why I say start with the zone of incompetence, because it's going to be very easy for you to pinpoint those. Then your zone of competence, yeah, you're competent, but you don't like it. That's clearly competence, okay? And then your zone of excellence, that's where it gets a little murky between the zone of excellence and your zone of genius, okay? But that's why it's easier to start with what you're not good at or what you don't like first, okay? Because that's going to help clear out the rest. Then you remember, this is not to be an ego-crushing exercise, by the way. So when I'm saying look at your incompetence and look at what you don't like, that's not what this is about. It's like pure facts, just the facts, ma'am. This is where, so we can get very clear on what our zone of genius is, okay? We all have our natural strengths and weaknesses for sure. We all have our natural likes and dislikes. You're just acknowledging those so that we can create a plan for handling those, okay? So questions to ask yourself would be, what activities in my business am I not good at? Which tasks do I find extremely difficult? Not your zone of genius. Which tasks take me forever to do them? That might be in your competence, your zone of competence, right? And which tasks do I truly dislike doing? We got to get those off your plate, one way or the other, all right? And whatever you just answered, any of those, if you find that you're not good at it, you're difficult, it takes you forever to do them, or you dislike doing them, I'll tell you right now, those go in your zone of incompetence, okay? This is if you're going to create a list, create a to not do list, all right? Do not do. This is your do not do list. And remember, these are the tasks that fall into that category. And you want to keep that list around. Keep it near your office so that you can start being aware, wait a minute, that's on my do not do list. So you don't get sucked into them, because unconsciously, that's what we'll do. We'll knee-jerk reaction, it needs to be done, and we go right to it. We're not even planning. We're not strategizing. We're not designing our business consciously, right? And then you look at this list more closely, and then you create get rid of list, all right? This is your dump it list. If something on your list is essential to your business and you just can't drop it, this list you want to have handy so you know what task you need to look at to delegate, all right? Either eliminate, do it, dump it, or delegate it. These are going to be dump it or delegate it. And maybe that's not right now. You can't do it right now, but that's the list. You're going to say, this is what I'm aspiring to. As soon as I can, we're going to start picking those right off of my list. And if you want to delegate, have a list of tasks ahead of time so that it's much easier for you to look for someone who can take that off your plate. and that you're very clear on what you need them to be competent in. So you want to actually be very clear on their skills and talents that you need them to be able to successfully do this for you. All right. So that's out of the incompetence list. Then comes your zone of competence. These are the tasks you can do, but you don't like to. So maybe you can schedule social media posts and you can pick hashtags for your Instagram photos, but you don't like doing it, all right? Or you're not an expert at it, or you find that it drains you. That is in your zone of competence, all right? So how you find that is asking questions like, what task am I capable of, but I don't like or I don't want to do? Which task feels like hard work, but I can get them done if I absolutely have to? Or which tasks make me feel like I'm not living up to my potential? That's a really good one to pay attention to. Even if I'm okay at it, it just doesn't feel like I'm really living up to my potential. These are answers that are going to help you pinpoint your zone of competence, okay? Another easy exercise to categorize your tasks into the right zone, you just keep a log for the next week where you track everything you're doing throughout the workday, and you write down the task, and then how do you feel about it? How do you feel about it before the task? Are you dreading it, or are you looking forward to it? How do you feel during the task? And then how do you feel after the task? Are you feeling drained? Are you feeling energized? Okay. And once you're done, you categorize each of these tasks into one of the following buckets. All right. The tasks that you can't or you don't like, zone of incompetence, okay? The tasks you can do but you dislike, zone of competence. Tasks that you can do easily but you have this nagging feeling it's just not your thing and it's not really fulfilling you even though you're really good at it, that's your zone of excellence. And then the tasks that light you up, that fills your soul, that energizes you, that inspires you, you want to do more, you love it, you feel more energized when you're done, that is your zone of genius. I can even not be feeling well. I can have low energy, and man, or something has happened in my life or with a family member. And I'm going to show up for my coaching calls, and I show up for my calls, and oh my God, I am there with my client, and I am like, oh, I feel so good by the end of that call. I know I'm in my zone of genius. And it's one of the reasons I will never, rarely, ever, cancel a coaching call if something has happened, because I know that's what I need. When my pup died, oh my gosh, I didn't want to talk to anybody. I got all of my clients. Thank you, clients, because it's just, this is the thing you want to pay attention to for yourself, okay? An added bonus to this exercise is to really realize what you're spending all your work time on and discover there's a lot of wasted time going on in here. That's why you want to write down things. So there's a lot you can probably just dump, okay? Don't even delegate it, but dump it. I know that can be a rude awakening, but this is going to be a really helpful one when you're trying to find out where your zone of genius is and when you're doing what you're here and put on this planet to ask. Oh, great. Great questions to think about. Great. I'm glad you think so. These are powerful. If you're willing to spend a little bit of time going through these, it's like, poof, I see the light now. No wonder I'm struggling in my business. I hate doing this. I don't want to do this. I'm procrastinating over here. And then you think, really? What did I get into business for? You're in it because you want the joy that you got to live in your zone of genius. All right. So next thing you want to do is you want to get clear on the zone of excellence. So we're clear on the incompetence. We're clear on what you can do but don't like. You are good at a lot of things. I know you are. You're great at so many things. You wouldn't even be an entrepreneur if you weren't great at a lot of different things, right? But just because you're great at something doesn't mean it is in your zone of genius, all right? In fact, if it doesn't feel 100% like this is what I was put on this planet to do, it's probably in your zone of excellence, not your zone of genius. This one's the hardest to discern, right? So this is the one to really, you're going to have to really kind of feel into it. A lot of people get confused with these two zones because, being in your zone of excellence, it's still easy for you. You can get paid really well for the work that you do in this area, But the zone of excellence, consider the zone of excellence as your comfort zone, okay? The main difference between this zone and your zone of genius is how the work makes you feel. I'm comfortable here, but my zone of genius, it's fulfilling. It lights me up, okay? So the zone of excellence, it's easy and there's nothing wrong. You can hang out in this zone, but you want to make sure that most of the time you're in your zone of genius. But this is where you're comfortable. You know what you're doing. People are responding positively. You're making good money in your zone of excellence. I mean, why would you want to change things? If this work doesn't actually light you up or excite you, though, that's a red flag, okay? It is not your zone of genius. To discover your zone of excellence and discern that from your zone of genius, some of the questions you can ask is, what do I already have a quality reputation for in my industry or in my field? Great question to ask. What am I really good at? Okay. What do I or what do others consider is my thing in my business? They say, boy, that's your thing. What do I say? Yeah, that's my thing. And while doing tasks that are in your zone of excellence is totally fine, it's totally fine. And in fact, it's usually necessary. We'll be definitely working in our zone of excellence. But unfortunately, what happens is we get caught up in what has been called our zone of excellence, and it's a trap. And so we end up staying in our zone of excellence, and we never move into our zone of genius. Does that make sense? I lived in a zone of excellence. My gosh, even in the corporate world, got tired of it, and it became not my zone of excellence, but my zone of competence, right? Before I finally left. But you just want to be careful that you're not so caught up in the zone of excellence that you are not living into your zone of genius. And that's where, when you're in your zone of excellence, this is where people can get stuck. They can get stuck in the wrong business. They can get stuck working with the wrong clients. They can be stuck in the wrong career. And other times it means they just do more work in their zone of excellence rather than getting into their zone of genius. Oh, you are speaking to me. Okay, I would like to know exactly what is speaking to you, but I'm glad it is. So why do people get stuck? All right, so a few reasons for that. One, it comes naturally to you. So you think, so why not just do it? Guilty. Other people will ask you for it, or they already see you as an expert in a particular subject or a task. So it's an easy thing, for you. People, they're asking you, okay, could you help me with this? Yeah, I can help you with that. Sure, I'll take you on as a client for that. That's easy to do, right? It feels safe. It feels secure. It feels secure to you, or it feels secure to your colleagues and to your clients. And staying in your zone of excellence doesn't really require a huge leap outside your comfort zone, okay? And so you say, what's the problem? I'm good at what I do. People are paying me for it, right? I'll tell you, that was me. What was I teaching? It was all law of attraction. Man, for a decade, it was all about law. More than that, everything still has that thread running through it, but it was only law of attraction for years. That's all I was in. I was in my zone of excellence, and I love law of attraction, right? But when you're in your zone of excellence and you're not fulfilling your zone of genius, this is when you can start feeling resentment, right? But you're feeling like, yeah, there's got to be a little. I love law of attraction, and there's got to be more. There's got to be something more here, right? Because you're not in your full potential, or going after what deep down you were meant for. Oh my gosh, sometimes you're living with regrets, or you're wondering, well, what would have happened if I had just stepped out my comfort zone and just said what said my heart. And I'll tell you, one of those times for me was when I came out around my ability to channel my guides' theos, right? I did not want to do that. I tippy-toed out, but and I was saying, I have my business. I've got a well-oiled machine here. It's working well, doing what I'm doing. I don't want to rock the boat. I was in my zone of excellence, but what was being called out of me was something else. until I did have to step out of my comfort zone to finally be able to encompass everything that I'm doing and all of who I am into what I'm doing. It's the same for you. All right. So even if it's not comfortable for you to admit, even when you're in your zone of excellence, admit it that maybe it's not your zone of genius. Okay. If you're living in your zone of genius, you are going to have your greatest earning potential. I'll tell you that right now. You're going to feel more passionate about your work, energetically and vibrationally. It is going to shine like nobody's business. You talk about being attractive to your divine market and your clients. Oh my gosh, that is going to show. You're going to be more confident because the work is so important to you. You're going to know what kind of work to look for, to seek out. And when you do that, you are going to be successful at it. The only tricky part is determining the zone of genius versus the zone of excellence, right? I live in my zone of excellence and I love what I do. And I can feel that expanding my zone of genius is next level. I love one-on-one coaching and it is excellence, genius. And I think speaking is moving into my genius zone. That's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. By the way, I'm looking over here at your comments, so I'm not looking at the camera. But that's a perfect example of you being called out. Oh my goodness, I'm holding the torch for you to step out. Get outside your comfort zone. Tippy toe out. That's what I did. I just did a little bitty. I did a tippy toe out. I lived to tell about it. Goodness me. So I did a little bit more and I lived to tell about it, right? Baby steps lead to avalanches. You don't have to jump in with both feet at the deep end. So I am totally supporting you in taking that next step. So once you know your zone of excellence, now you got to start preparing like mentally and emotionally, spiritually to step into your zone of genius. And so you want to ask yourself, am I ready? Perfect for you. Am I ready to take a big step outside my comfort zone and potentially face some fears? The longer you've been working in your zone of excellence, the scarier the leap or the shift will feel, okay? Especially if it means pivoting your business in some way. Big question, am I ready? Next question, am I prepared to change what I do on a day-to-day basis in my current business and the tasks that I'm taking on? Another great question. Am I ready to potentially give up control and start outsourcing or building a team in order to spend more time in my zone of genius? This one can be really scary and it's not always possible at first, and I recognize that, okay? But it is an end goal, right? So you want to be planning for it, all right? So this is where I would encourage you all to take time, get out a journal or get a Word document or however you best like to do your introspective work. And then you want to address all the feelings that you start having come through you as you're asking yourself some of these questions. What are the feelings that are flooding through you? What are the thoughts that are flooding through your mind? And it's scary. It's scary to think about restructuring your business or making a drastic change, but none of this has to happen at once, okay? It does not happen. It can be one baby step at a time. Make it easy on yourself. Make it easy on yourself. But do make sure that you're not letting your gremlin hold you back because your guidance is calling you forward. And so acknowledge the feelings, acknowledge the concerns, and then look at, okay, so now how do I want to handle these? And then once you see some solutions, do it, delegate it or dump it, or make plans to do those things, right? Then when you do that, then those feelings, they're going to start to subside, okay? And those are going to then start to shift into feelings of excitement about your new direction and stepping into the fullness of who you are, what you're being called to do. I'm being called to get out of my comfort zone right now. More will be seen later during the year. But man, I know it's my guidance. And my gremlin is saying, no, Eva, just stay where you are. Everything's working so well for you right now. Why rock the boat? That's a gremlin, by the way. That's how your gremlin speaks. So once you have a good idea of what your zone of genius is, and remember, you shouldn't have more than 3 to 5 genius, quote, tasks when you're in your genius zone. The rest needs to be delegated eventually over time. Now it's time for you to start to bring more of this into your business more fully, all right? How do you start integrating your zone of genius into your current business? So look at where can you start to switch things up? How can you switch up the tasks you have to do so that you're spending more of your time in your zone of genius? So for example, you're a coach whose zone of genius is speaking. Let's just use that as an example, shall we? Okay, so your zone of genius is speaking. Well, guess what? You got to market your business. You got to be visible out there for that. And how are you going to do that? Is it going to be through Facebook and Instagram? Is it going to be on YouTube? Are you going to speak in person? What's that going to look like? And so to switch, you want to change up your marketing plan so you're spending less time on the administrative tasks. Maybe it's just writing social media posts and all of that kind of stuff, and having it more speak to you as the speaker, all right? Being interviewed on podcasts, that would be a way to baby step getting out there and speak, by the way. If your zone of genius, let's say the example is working with numbers, okay, and you're a business coach, how can you switch up maybe some of your current offers so you're spending more time crunching numbers or helping your clients crunch numbers? Like that's be the specialty that you help them with. Make sense? How can you offer to develop the plan for your clients, as an example? Helping them map out their income for the next quarter or the next year, and then projections. How do you set those out, right? So those are some things to be thinking about. Podcast guesting, yes, perfect next step. Perfect next step. And by the way, if switching isn't possible, another way to go about doing this is to add more of your zone of genius into your day. So if not switching it out isn't possible, then how do you add more in your day? Even if it's just, start again, baby steps. Start with 10 minutes of zone of genius time, right? Add 10 minutes of zone of genius time to your day. And then really take the time to cultivate your genius, all right? All you got to do is focus on your zone of genius for 10 solid, uninterrupted minutes a day. That's doable. Doesn't that sound doable? Even if you're strapped for time, if it's your zone of genius, certainly you can find 10 extra minutes a day. And if finding 10 minutes a day sounds like a challenge, okay, how about getting up 5 minutes earlier and going to bed 5 minutes later? Or if you have a break in the day, 10 minutes, we can find 10 minutes, especially for your zone of genius. You'll find 10 minutes. We can find time for the things that we most want to do, right? This would be a priority. Your zone of genius is a priority. Sitting down at your desk a few minutes before you're typically due. Find those 10 minutes. Find 10 minutes in the evening. Find 10 minutes, even if it's in your zone of genius, just before you start your day. But the time for your genius work doesn't matter, but the consistency does. You get that? Consistency is key. Finding 10 minutes today because you want to get more into your genius, and then you go for 2 or 3 weeks without doing it again, is not going to get you anywhere, but 5 minutes a day consistently will take you there. Got it? Consistency is key. Adding just a section of time a day, dedicated and not distracted. Very key. That's brilliant. Absolutely. The undistracted 10 minutes. Sacred time. I see it as my sacred time. So if your zone of genius is writing, set your timer on your iPhone and write for 10 minutes. You're running to write your book and that's your zone of genius is in the writing and you just can't seem to get to it. 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Let me tell you what will happen. There'll be momentum that happens and there'll be a tipping point. And it feels like, how can I ever get anywhere at only 10 minutes a day? Guess what? The universe will arrange people, places, situations, circumstances, ideas, events, solutions that will take you there, right? But you just start with where you are. Now, neither of these examples, speaking and writing, neither of these may seem like they're immediately profitable in your business, but over time, they are. They have the potential to build your credibility, to hone your skills, create your visibility, establish the trust in your community, your positioning, All of these are important for turning your followers into paying clients. Okay. So if writing is in your zone, think of how all of your writing is going to eventually turn into a published book you can sell. You know, I've got a client right now in the Enlightened Business Success Academy, and she's building her business and wanting to get clients, and she's wanting to write her book. And the book is about her messaging and the positioning and what she'll be doing on social media. So guess what? Writing the book and then taking that and then using that as elements of what she's doing and positioning her messages. She's doing them both. It's very synergistic. Okay. And so it's going to turn into a published book that she can sell and also establishes her credibility. Maybe it could also be turned into a multi-lesson course or program. And so the possibilities are endless. I remember when I first wrote the Feel Good Guide to Prosperity, I self-published that book. Do you know how that book came along? Because I was writing weekly articles in my e-zine and blog posts about law of attraction. This was back when all I was doing was law of attraction. And my brilliant coach at the time said, Eva, when are you going to publish a book? When are you going to write the book? And I'm like, what do you mean write the book? She says, well, look at all of this material you've got. Hello. By my being willing to do that, I ended up writing the book. And then out of writing the book, I created a year-long program, which was all about law of attraction, which I ran for 6 or 7 years. All of that came from being in the zone. Okay. So even if you can't say how is it directly affecting my business success and my income, if you're in your zone of genius, trust it, okay? It will find its way, right? And that's one of the things I do in the Enlightened Business Success Academy is helping people say, okay, this is your zone of genius and this is what you love to do. Now, how can we leverage that into everything that you're doing? Okay, so possibilities are endless, but it can start with a simple 10 minutes a day, all right? And then after your 10 minutes of genius time, then guess what happens? It becomes your routine. And then you find that you're doing it 15 minutes a day or a half an hour a day. Ideally, you're spending about 90% of your time in your zone of genius, but you can still baby step your way there. When you start to get in your zone of genius and it feels so good, you want more. Okay. That makes it easier to want to expand it versus doing something that you don't really like to do. You start to procrastinate. This is like, oh, how can I find more time to be in my zone of genius? Okay. And just don't be surprised where the zone of genius things that you're doing can be used in your marketing strategy and in your client work. That's what we teach you to do in the Enlightened Business Success Academy. That's what you want to do. Leverage everything, anything that you're doing, and especially in your zone of genius. You want to be in the back of your mind asking, how can I leverage this at least 3 other ways? Okay. Another good question to ask. All right. So we have discussed how tricky it can be to float back and forth between your zone of genius and your zone of excellence. Okay. And so you just want to pay attention to that. Use some of the exercises and questions I gave you to discern that. I would say use a planner or a time tracker and track the tasks and things that you're doing each week. And then as you're feeling into them, maybe you just plug them down. And then at the end of the day, think, okay, was that my zone? Which of these zones was it in? Incompetence, competence, excellence, or genius, right? And so as you're wrapping up each week and you're looking at it at the end of each day, just look, okay. In fact, I would do that at the end of the day, but at the end of your week, and you only need to do this for 1 week. This isn't something you have to do forever. And then you can come back to it if you want to, kind of get more clarity later on. But one of the questions to ask is, how much time did I spend on work that I enjoyed this week? Big tell right there. The next question to ask is, how confident did I feel doing my work this week? Were there any tasks that I didn't feel confident about? So it's all about self-awareness. By the way, don't let your gremlin get in when you're asking these questions and you feel, oh God, I did this thing, and that's okay. It simply is. It's not good, bad, right, or wrong. Got it? It just is. So that's how we want to look at it. Just the facts, because the facts are giving us the awareness so that we can move forward in the way that we want to. Okay. What can I eliminate or delegate next week to make my work week more enjoyable and spend more time in my zone of genius? Great question to ask. My favorite procrastination thing is organizing the junk drawer in the kitchen. Oh my God. And cleaning the grout in the shower. Well, at least you got a clean place. But at least I know I'm procrastinating if I find myself doing it. That's awesome. I love it. Oh my goodness. Well, if you feel like procrastinating, you come to my place. I can keep you very busy. All right. So these questions, right? How much did I enjoy my week? How confident did I feel about my work? Were there tasks that I didn't feel confident about? How can I eliminate or delegate next week to make my work more enjoyable? Answering these questions, really, you could just answer these each week. Just look at your calendar. I mean, if you're not using your calendar as your true north, that's a whole other subject. We might have to have a Facebook Live on that because that's something I teach in the Enlightened Business Success Academy. But you could just, if you do use it as your true north, you could just look at that and be able to answer these questions really quickly every week. It's going to help you think more strategically about how you use your zone of genius, and it's going to help you increase your longer term satisfaction and ultimately your business success. All right. And then final, perhaps the best way to operate in your zone of genius more often is delegate. Remember, do it, dump it, or delegate. Do it, delegate, or dump it. Do, delegate, or dump. Anyway, whatever. Those are my three things, right? You don't have to have a big budget to start delegating, all right? I said that before. Start small. Get a VA that can help you. Minimal time. Don't get someone that requires you to have 20 hours a week, right? You find somebody who's willing to grow with you, who's willing to be there for the time that you need them, and that is it right now. So you start small, you build from there. If bookkeeping is not your thing, get a freaking bookkeeper. They are not that expensive. And man, these types of things are going to free up your energy like crazy. If you've got the means, then you can start to eliminate or outsourcing parts of your business that are not the best use of your time, okay? And always start with that zone of incompetence. That's where you want to start first to start getting rid of stuff, okay? And remember, delegate it list. You pull that out, you look it over. What am I ready to delegate now? Okay. Hiring people for these tasks means that they will get done a lot faster than if you're doing it, a lot better and a lot more efficiently than you doing them yourselves, because now you're getting people who are in their zone of genius working on the things that are not in yours. Okay. So let them be in their zone of genius while you focus in your zone of genius. And ultimately, the goal is to hire people whose own zone of genius is in your zone of incompetence, basically. And that means when you're hiring others to do work in their zone of genius, they are happier too. They're more productive. They're excited about the work they're doing. And then that will lead to better results in your business and for your clients and for the way your team operates as a whole. Talk about a dream team. This is the way to do it, okay? Always, never hire a team member and then expect them to do things they don't like to do. I'd rather have 3 different VAs doing what they love to do most separately than one that I'm trying to get to do things that do all of them if they don't like to do them all, right? And it also means that you get to spend more time in your zone of genius, which translates to less boredom, more satisfaction on your end, and you have more time for the CEO level tasks and projects that usually get brushed aside in your business. And I am here to encourage you to become the CEO of your business, not the worker bee in your business. And just imagine a team where everybody gets to do not only what they're excellent at, but what they love to do. And now you have a team that works together seamlessly. They're happy to do that. Happy team members mean they stay with you longer, and they prevent the need to hire and train new contractors over and over, right? Let's see. The questions make great journal prompts. Absolutely, they do. You better believe they do. So outsourcing, by the way, isn't necessarily a fun task. So you might be outside your zone of genius when you're doing it, but it's temporary. And I will tell you that once you start doing it, you're going to see a payoff pretty quickly. So what I would do is take the list of tasks from your zones of incompetence and your zone of competence, actually. And these are the tasks you either eliminate and dump them if they're not necessary, or you delegate them, okay? So this is what you're aspiring to. And I would keep that. I call them living organisms. I use Google Docs and Google Sheets. I love those. But to have them there, and then as people come on to do things like, delegate that one out, really that one. Okay. And then you group all of those tasks together into separate categories. So all your money tasks, okay, I'm going to delegate. Those all go for my bookkeeper. All my writing tasks go to my content creator and my copywriter. Then when you look at each of the categories, you've got a better understanding of, do I need a virtual assistant, or do I need a copywriter, or do I need a web designer, right? So you're very clear, or a bookkeeper, but you're clear on what those tasks are. And the other thing I would also do is get clear on what are the skills and the attributes you want of those people that you are going to delegate to, okay? What kind of background do you want them to have? What kind of experience do you want them to have? What platforms do you want them to be proficient at? Do you want to be proficient on a Mac and all of the Mac apps, or on Windows, or both? Do they need to be really good at Infusionsoft or something else, right? So you want to make sure that you itemize the things that you want your people to be proficient at. So when you interview people, that you're asking them, and if someone has a hole in that bucket, maybe they're not the right person for you, okay? But you've got to be clear. Here's what I see. Coaches like, yeah, I need a VA. So they go hire a VA, but they be like, oh, but she doesn't know this and she doesn't know that. Well, this is why we want to create this list first, right? So that you're very clear on that you're choosing the best person for the job, and it's somebody also that is in their zone of genius, so that you get excellent quality support, all right? And then you take that into, if you're doing an interview process with someone. So do you need somebody that's just learning, or do you want somebody with years of experience? I've had times when I was okay with paying them to learn because I was wanting them to do things a certain way. It was my own work that I was wanting them to do things in. But other people's like, no, I don't want to pay for your experience, for your learning. I want to pay somebody who's already proficient and can do it quickly and easily, right? Also, trying to nickel and dime your contractors. You're not going to attract the right kind of people if you're doing that. So, you're going to attract the people who are saying, yeah, I can do that, and then you find out they really can't. And I love Fiverr because, you can get some really good value with Fiverr. But even on Fiverr, I'm not looking for the least expensive. I am looking for those who are good and fast and have the great reviews. And if that means paying $100 instead of $10, it's worth it for me. Okay. So be thinking about that as well, and how you're attracting who you'll attract based on your thinking. Another place to go is to ask your colleagues. Ask people who already are working with others. They'll let you know about their experiences, whether they were great or not so great. So you'll be able to do that. And also don't get discouraged. I know that sometimes it's a learning curve, and you'll bring people in and you'll find out it wasn't a match. That's okay. It's just part of the process. Don't let that discourage you and decide, well, see, I'm the only one that can do it. That's your gremlin speaking, all right? Not true. And when you find the right person, you know it. And it feels like a match made in heaven, or not, depending. So trust your intuition, trust your inner guidance on this. We teach a lot of practical steps and processes, but oh my gosh, in the end, it's still got to come back to how it's feeling for you and your own inner guidance. And so again, somebody might sound perfect until you hear about a past situation or you see a sample of their work. No shame. Move on to the next candidate. Professional contractors should also be asking you questions about your business, by the way. They need to be asking the scope of the project. That's why you need to know what your task list includes on it. Because just like you want to choose the right person to add to your team, they're also evaluating, will you be good as a client for them, okay? So you want to make that same good first impression as you're hoping they make with you, all right? It goes both ways. And then, of course, over time, you'll get better at this as you're outsourcing. And then once you've gotten into a groove with the people who help you out in your zone of incompetence, and you start to look for people to hire now in your zone of competence, and eventually you're in your zone of excellence, oh my gosh, you're going to find yourself more and more. You're moving more and more into just your excellence, and then more and more into your zone of genius. And it can happen very organically, even if you're starting out with 10 minutes a day right now, okay? And that just means everybody's getting things done faster. They're getting things done better or easier. There is no better path to profitability and success than that. So there you go, my Kokomos. We're aspiring to, not even just aspiring to your zone of genius. You need to make that a requirement. You're aspiring to get the other zones off of your plate, but you need to be right now starting to move into your zone of genius and trying to discover what that zone of genius is for sure. Okay. I think that's it. I will post a comment about the VAs in the comments after we're off here. And if you have any questions about anything that I've covered here, whether you're here with me live right now or you're catching this on the replay, post that in the comments as well. I'll be sure to come back and answer those for you. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you. And you're saying that I am now in my zone of genius. So big, big heart hugs, lots of love. Bye for now.